Visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let me just first give like a brief objective what we'll be covering in these 2 days, today and tomorrow. So our objective is to cover the installation of S4 HANA 2020 application server. Okay, which we will be which will be taking up tomorrow. Today we will be doing the background work. Background work means like first we will set up the lab. Setting up the lab means creating of the VMs that we require for this S4 HANA installation. So let me show you what VMs will be creating for this. Okay, so here these are the VMs that will be creating. The first one that will be creating is the Bayesian host. Okay, and this is the Bayesian host. This is the size of this VM. This is the size for Azure Cloud B2S. This is the resource for this 2 CPU, 4 GB memory, and these are the partitions that will be created for this Bayesian host. It will be a Windows system. If you see the image over here, it will be a Windows Server 2019 system. This is the host name, IP address. So one will be our Bayesian host. Second will be the HANA database, the database on which we'll be installing the HANA. So this is the size for that HANA database, which is E16SV3, that is 16 CPUs and 128 GB memory. This is the disk that will be creating the storage disk. So the root partition, that is slash partition, will be of 30 GB. The HANA data of 125 GB, HANA log 50 GB, HANA shared 200 GB. Okay, and then we have this total of this, we have 375 GB. So this is the how we'll be doing it. I think that okay, then apart from that, we have this application server. So this we will be installing tomorrow, the primary application server, which consists of 2 CPUs and 16 GB memory. And this is the file system, file system for the application server. Both of the HANA database and the application server will be on SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP 15 SP3. BYOS means bring your own subscription. It will not have a valid subscription. That means you cannot install any packages or upgrade any packages directly from the SUSE repository. This is the host name and these are the IP addresses. This is the SID and this is the installation number. Is this part clear with us?
This sizing and all we have to do, a sizing team architect will do sizing.
This size, yes, sir. This sizing is for our practical lab that we will be creating. The HANA, the S4 HANA lab that we will be creating. This sizing is not relative to your production environment. You cannot take this sizing for your production environment. Normally, in your environment, when you are implementing HANA, you have to first, the first thing that needs to be done is the sizing, the system sizing, the HANA sizing. How many memory will your HANA server require? What will be the file system that will be required? So that is a different thing which is done on a, you can say, different level. So this is just for our practical purpose. Okay, you cannot go with the same sizing in your environment. Do you get my point?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so today we'll be setting up these 3 servers. We'll be creating these 3 servers: the Bayesian host, the HANA database, and the S4 HANA primary application server. We will create these 3 VMs, and then we will install the HANA database today. Tomorrow we will install the S4 HANA 2020 primary application server. Yes, is that clear with everyone? Any doubts, any queries?
What is Bastion host? That can you tell me that?
Yes. Okay. No problem. I will cover that topic. So let us first start with the. I will not be covering the whole presentation because it will take up unnecessary time. So like we have different topics over here: why cloud, why Azure, how to open a free account on Azure, how to check Azure credit balance, how to operate Azure cloud. So let me directly quickly move to the. Normally, these are generic questions like why do you choose a cloud environment for setting up your lab setup, and why Azure? Then you get a $200 of free credit on sign up, and then how to open a free account. how to check Azure credit balance, how to operate Azure cloud. Let me directly switch to this part, the virtual network. So now when you want to set up your setup, when you want to set up your infrastructure, okay, that is your systems and into a lab environment. So what are the things that you need to do? The first thing that you need to do is to set up a virtual network. Inside that virtual network, under the different subnets, you will be creating your virtual machines, VMs, in your cloud environment. So let us first understand what is a virtual network. Okay, so this is, I've taken an example of a virtual network. This is the CIDR block. It is referred as a CIDR block, classless internet domain routing CIDR block. This is the block for your virtual network. It means this is the area, this is the boundary of your virtual network. All your virtual, all the IP addresses, all the subnet addresses will belong under this CIDR block. Nothing out of this. So this is like your boundary. This is a boundary that you set for your virtual network, which is 10.0.0.0/16. 16 is your subnet mask. Okay, I hope everybody is clear with this concept of subnet masking. 16 means that 8 in every block which is over here. That is every octet. It is called as an octet. That is 10. 10 is an octet dot 0. The second 0 is also a second octet. The third 0 is the third octet, and the fourth 0 is the fourth octet. So we totally have here is 4 octets. So it means each octet represents 8, the number 8. So if I tell like a 10.0.0.0/8, it means that only the first octet is the network address, and the remaining 3 octets are the address there. Just a moment. Okay, someone is asking to repeat. Can you please ask which point do you want me to repeat? Yes. Can you please ask? Can you please tell which point you want me to repeat? Okay. IP masking. This is not IP masking. This is subnet masking. This is called as subnet masking. Okay. Let me show it over here. Yes. Can you see the notepad over here? So normally in an IP, the structure of an IP address, if you see about the IP address structure, the IP address structure. So how is it? How is it designed? How is it? What is the layout of an IP address? So it is like there are 4 octets. So there is the first. If you see the first one, this is 1 octet. Then you have a dot. Then you have a second octet. Then you have a third octet, and this is the 4th octet. So normally you have 4 octets in an IP address. These are called as an octet. So each octet refers, actually each octet represents the number 8. 8.8.8.8. So 8 plus 8, 16 plus 8, 24 plus 8, 32. So if any number, if any IP address, for example, in any IP address is given by /32, it means the exact IP address it means the exact IP address. This means the exact IP address. But if it's given anything, something less, for example, it is given as 24, it means only 8.8.8.x. The last number, the last octet is not included. So it will be denoted by 24. It means this is the address of your subnet. This is our subnet address. It means the first 3 octet is your network address, and the remaining octet is your devices address. These are the free IP addresses. You can call, okay, these 3 will be your subnet address, and the last one will be your IP address. For example, here in this, you can have something like this: 192.168.25 dot, and this is your open one. So here you can have your IP address. For example, it will start from 192.168.25.1. Similarly, you can have up to 192.168.25.2. So it will go up till the last number 192.168.25.3. 254. So this will be the IP addresses in your subnet. Which subnet it will be? 192.168.25. This is the address of your subnet. Is this point clear? Can I proceed?
Yes, I'm sorry. We can.
Okay, so this is, so here in the example which I've given over here, so this is 10.0. So here the subnet mask is 16. It means the first two octet is your network address. Okay, and the remaining two octets, that the third and the fourth zero, this will form your IP addresses. Not I. This will, okay. We'll look forward. So next, what is your virtual network? It is actually your virtual data center on the cloud. Your virtual network is your virtual data center on the cloud. So if you want to set up your infrastructure on a cloud environment, you need to first set up your virtual network. You need to set up your virtual data center on the cloud. So now what happens in this virtual network? Inside this virtual network, you will be creating different subnets. Okay, for example, you will create subnet 1. Now, if you see the difference in the IP, in the range, the virtual network, the address of the virtual network is 10.0.0.0/16. But if you see the address of your subnet number 1, it is 10.0.0.0/24. See, there is a change in your, okay, there is a change in your subnet mask. The subnet mask of your subnet has changed to 24, whereas for your virtual network it is 16. So it means in your virtual network, the first and the two octet is your network address. The remaining two will is open. Here, what is it? Here the first three octet is your network address, and the remaining, the fourth octet, the fourth zero is your available IP address. Is it available for giving IP addresses to your devices or systems inside the subnet 1? Is it point clear?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your subnet number 1. Similarly, you can create multiple subnets. Okay, you can create multiple subnet, but how many subnets can you create up till? So you can create up till 256 subnets. Why? Because this octet has a maximum capacity of 256. Each octet has a maximum capacity of 256, starting from 0 up till 255. So that means it is total capacity is of 256. So that is how you can create here is the first 0, then the second one 1, then you'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go on up till 255. This will be the last subnet. So in this virtual network, I can create up till 256 subnets. Okay, you can create up till 256 subnets. Each subnet, okay, you can create up till 256 subnets. In each virtual network, you can create up till, each virtual network you can create up till 256 subnets. Okay, this is subnet. In each subnet, each subnet you can create up till 256 IP addresses. In each subnet, if you want to see how many IP addresses you can have in your this virtual network, 256 into 256, so around 65,536 IP addresses inside this virtual subnet. Which virtual subnet? Sorry, virtual network. This virtual network. So you can have up to 65,536 IP addresses in this virtual network. Okay, so someone is asking how we create subnet. Okay, so we can just have some patience, because after covering this theory, we will create the lab setup. So in the lab setup, I will show you how to create the subnet. Okay, so now this is, you can create multiple subnets over here. Okay, now inside this subnet, as I said you, that each subnet can have up to 256 IP address. Okay, 256 IP address starting from 0 up till 255. Okay, but here in this, the first and the last IP addresses are reserved. The first IP address, which is the first IP address 10.0.0.0. This IP address is reserved for the network address. This the first IP address 10.0.0.0 of the subnet, it denotes the whole network. So this IP address you cannot assign to any device. It represents the whole network. Then similarly, the last IP address 10.0.0.255, the last IP address is reserved for broadcasting within the same subnet. So that IP address is also reserved. So out of 256 IP addresses, 2 are reserved in any of the network. You can find this in any of the network. Even if you check in your Wi-Fi router of your house, if you check in the Wi-Fi router of your house, you'll find that the IP addresses start from 1. For example, 192.168.1.1. It will always start from 1. It will not start from 0, because that 0 is reserved for your, it denotes your whole network address. And also you can, the last IP address that you can assign to any device is 254. You cannot assign 255 to any device or VM. So 2 IP addresses are reserved. Out of this, man, you're creating. Okay, someone is asking why are we creating multiple subnet. See, it defines. See, you can create multiple subnet based on the requirement in your organization or your office setup. For example, if you have an office setup, now you will have multiple areas. For example, the data center. You have a data center where you will put all your servers and all your critical machines and network and everything, devices in your data center. So you cannot have connect that data center. You cannot have an open network of your data center into your end user's PC. Okay, so that is the reason you cannot have all of this in the same subnet. So that is the reason you will create different subnet. For your data center, you will create a different subnet. Okay, for your employees, for your end users, for the users which work in the office, you will create a different subnet. Okay, then for example, you will also have an open subnet for your Wi-Fi for your guest user. For example, you have a lobby or something where the users, where the visitors come and they sit or wait for in the lobby. So you might give them some open network access so they can connect to the Wi-Fi and they can use some internet for this. So they will also have a different subnet. Also, you can create different subnets for your different offices. For example, you have one building. So instead of creating one subnet, you can create multiple subnets for like floor number 1, floor number 4. You will have a different subnet for floor number 4. So this is based on your requirement, network infrastructure. That is the reason why you create different subnets. I hope my point is clear. Aman, is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, Muzaffar. And the last, the diagram subnet, 255 used 10.0.255.1, 255.2, but you said 255 is not reserved, right? So
yes. So here, see, now let me show you what I'm telling about is the IP address. See, now here, if you see here, I'm talking about the last subnet. See this one. If you in assigning any IP address in the last octet, this octet and this information is for the last octet. Okay, but here if you see here, this is not the last octet. This is the third octet. Do you get my point? This is here, this is the third octet. This is a network address. This is not the IP address. Inside this third octet, if you look in the fourth octet, here your network address that is 10.255.0. Sorry, 10.0.255.0. This you cannot assign to any device or you cannot assign to any system VM anywhere. Similarly, in the same 10.0.255.255, this is your broadcasting address.
okay,
So
okay. Fourth octet is reserved.
Yeah,
in the fourth octet, 0 and 255 reserved.
0 and 255 is reserved. Okay, not in the third octet. Okay, so that is it. So now, so there in any of the network, you cannot assign the first and the last IP address. Okay, if you have a router in your office, if you have a router in your home, Wi-Fi router, you can only use up till 254 IP addresses. Okay, starting from 1 up till 254. So you can only use 254 IP address, not the first 0 and not the last 255. But in a cloud environment, in a cloud infrastructure, in a cloud network, the first 3 IP addresses are also reserved by the cloud provider. Okay, these first three IP addresses. So if you see here, the 10.0.0.1, the first, the second IP address, it is reserved for the gateway of that subnet, and the 10.0.0.0.2 is reserved for the DNS of that subnet, and the third one is reserved. It is not named, but it can be used anywhere by the cloud provider. So just for information is that the first apart from the first and the last one, the second, third, and fourth, these IP addresses are reserved by the cloud provider. You cannot use this IP address in your cloud's virtual network. Okay, so after this, so these three IP addresses are also reserved. You cannot use it in over here. Whenever you will create a subnet, it will not, it will, you can directly see in the subnet, it will only show you how many IP addresses are available. It will only tell you that only 251 free IPs are available. You can use only 251 free IP available. So these are the 251, starting from 4 up till 254. In any subnet, this number of IP addresses are available for assigning to any kind of like a device, any network device, Wi-Fi router, firewall, switch, any devices, VM, and anywhere. So you can use free 251 IP addresses available for assigning to any device. So is it clear? Can we move forward?
So if we want more than 255 devices, then we need to create one more subnet, right?
Yes, you'll have to create multiple subnets. Or otherwise, if I don't want to go into any detail over here, you can create different subnets. You can have a wider subnet mask. For example, here if you are giving 24, there my subnet mask is 24. Okay, if I choose a lower subnet, for example 20, if I choose 20, it will have a wider range. But I don't want to get into that because I think most of them will become confused with this point. Okay, so that is just for your information is that if you want to have more IP addresses into your subnet, you will have to go for a lesser subnet mask. You can go for 16 also. See here in this, if you check with the 16 one, if you can, instead of creating this as a virtual network, I can give it as a subnet also. I can use this as a subnet. So it will have 65,536 IP address in this subnet. Do you get it? Yes, is it clear?
Repeat once.
Okay, so someone is asking, do all CSPs reserve these three IP? Yes, see, the IPs are reserved, but actual number, it can depend upon different service providers. I have worked till now on AWS and Azure. In AWS and Azure, I think AWS reserves up to 4 IP addresses. I'm not sure which numbering of the IP addresses, but I think there are 4. And in Azure, it is confirmed that it only reserves of only 3 IP addresses for each subnet. Yes, Harsha, is the point clear with you?
That's clear. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's move forward with this is the layout. This is the structure of your virtual network. Now coming to the point of here, now understanding what is your network, how is your network on the cloud, and how is your network. Okay, so this is your cloud. This is your Azure cloud network. This is my Azure cloud network on the cloud. Okay, now coming next, this is my network. The above one, that is a Azure cloud network, and the below one, this is my network. It can be any network. It can be your data center network of your companies, your organization data center network. It can be your office network, the network in which you work for your office, or also it can be your home network also. In case of if you have work from home, then you might work from your home also, connecting to different systems on your cloud system. So this my network, that is your network, it can contain any of this type, DC, office, or home network. What will be the what will the types of systems in this network? There can be servers. Okay, then there will be PCs, then there will be tablets, mobiles. This will be the kind of systems in your network. Now, if you check on the cloud network, in the cloud network, you have created a virtual network. As I've explained in the previous slide, what is the virtual network, and this is the CIDR block for the, we have chosen the CIDR block as 10.0.0.0/16 for a virtual network. Okay, now coming next, inside the virtual network, I have created two subnets. One subnet is the public subnet. Public subnet, as the name denotes, it means it is an open subnet where you can connect from anywhere, or from where you can connect from internet also into this subnet. So it's a public subnet. So any PC which is placed inside the public subnet is exposed to the internet, is open to internet, can connect to the, will have an incoming traffic on the from the internet. So the public subnet, subnet is 10.0.0.0/24. Then you have your private subnet, which is 10.0.1.0/24. These are the two subnets. Now inside your private subnet, you have your HANA VM. Okay, inside the private subnet, you have your HANA VM, and this is the IP address of your HANA VM, 10.0.1.4. Now, if you want to access this subnet from your network, if you want to, please excuse me, there's a call, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so now what is this? You need to access the VM which is placed inside the public subnet, private subnet from your network. So how can you access? See, if you want to access it, there are different ways by which you can access it. Okay, so one of the ways is that you can have a direct connection. Okay, because it's a direct connection. It's called as a point-to-point connection. But no, normally it will not happen from your home environment. But normally, if you, for example, if you have a data center, if you have an office and office setup, so your organization will apply for a point-to-point connection, which is also called as MPLS cloud or something. So the telecom, you have to apply it with the telecom provider. The telecom provider will lay a direct cable from your data center, from your building, from your premise up till the cloud infrastructure, the cloud service providers network. So it's a point-to-point direct connection. It's called the direct connection. You have to apply for the direct connection. It takes time. It takes months also, depending on the load on the telecom provider. And it will be a direct connection from your office environment, data center network, or your office network directly to the cloud network. In this type of network, you can directly access the VM. Okay, if you are in your office, if you directly open, if you can directly access, you can directly ping, or you can directly access the VM placed inside the private subnet if you have a direct connection. Next comes your VPN. For example, if you don't have a direct connection, then you can have a VPN connection. You can also have a point-to-point VPN connection from your data center up till the cloud network. Okay, the cloud, you can have a point-to-point VPN connection, which is always connected. Even for your office environment, which will be a point-to-point VPN, which is always connected. And in case if you're connecting from your home, just give me 1 minute, please. Yeah, sorry. So In case if you don't have a direct connection or a point-to-point VPN connection, then you might have a dial-up, or you can say like a connect. You can have a VPN connection where every time whenever you need to connect to the network, you have to connect to your VPN. You have to connect to your VPN network, and after you connect to the VPN network, you will be able to directly access the VM under the private subnet. Is this point clear with everyone? Yes. Any doubts, any queries in this point? Okay, so let's move forward. So this is how you can access in case of your, but normally now in our case, or in many of the environment I've seen, you might not have a VPN connection to directly access your systems which is placed inside the network. So what you can do over here? So if you're connecting to internet, if you're connecting to the network through internet, so what you need to do is that you need to create a Bayesian VM inside your public subnet. You will have Bayesian VM, which the IP address of this Bayesian VM will be 10.0.0.4. This is the local IP address. Local IP address means within the virtual network of your cloud service provider. So this is the IP address. Now, if you want to connect from internet via internet to this HANA VM, then what you need to do, you have to create a Bayesian VM, and you have to assign a public IP to the Bayesian VM. Okay, once you assign a public IP to the Bayesian VM, then you can from internet you can connect to the public IP to the Bayesian VM, and through the Bayesian VM you can connect to your HANA VM. Yes, is it clear? Any doubts, any queries? Someone asked me about why do we need a Bayesian host. So I think, is it clear to you why do you need a Bayesian host? Yes, sorry, please just give me 1 minute. Yes, so no doubt, no queries. Can you move forward?
Yes, answer.
Yes. So now this part is clear. I think the presentation part is clear. So no issue. Let me close the presentation. Now we'll start with setting up our lab environment. We'll set up a lab and we'll create the VMs inside the lab. Okay. So now, so this is the portal. This is the Azure portal where you can create your virtual machines and different labs over here. So let me open this lab setup. So you have seen this Azure portal. So let us start creating the lab. So the first thing that you need to create is you need to create a resource group. It's like a container in your. Okay, I think we'll take a break of 5-7 minutes. I think it's 7:18. Let's meet up at 7:30. Is it okay with everyone?
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Let's take a 10 minutes break. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. Can we resume now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yes. So we were okay. We will be creating a lab setup. So first thing I told you that we need to create a resource group, and after that, whatever resource we'll be creating related to this your related resource group, it will be created under this resource group. Okay. So how you can go over here? You need to go onto the portal. This is a portal site for Azure. On this portal, go on the home. You have to go on the home, and here you can like you can click on a create a resource, or best thing you can click on this icon over here. Click on it, and you can see all services. Click on all services. So under this all services on the left hand side, in this left pane, you can see all the categories. These are the categories. Under each category, you can see all the resources or the types on the right hand side. So on the left hand side, you have the categories. On the right hand side, you have the different types of resources. So first resource that we are going to create is the general resource group. So you have to go into general. Here you have to click the resource groups. Click on resource groups. Okay, this is your resource groups page. Click on create. Okay, now here we have to create a resource group. So this is the name of a resource group. The name of the resource group is basis B04. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. I'm getting a call. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Okay, so here, so this is the resource group, name of the resource group I will be creating. So you can see, you can put any name of the resource, but it should be like meaningful. It should be reasonable so that you can identify from different names, which is your resource group and what will be the content of the resource group. Okay, so this is the name of my resource group. This is the name of the batch, the name, the number of the batch that is we are starting, that is B04 batch 04, and then this is the type of the batch course basis part 1, and this is the 00. It depends on the student number. Okay, so now region is will be creating the US default region. No need to change that. Okay, so now after that, just click on review plus create. So you can see your validation has passed, and you can now click on create. Okay, so here you can see my resource group has been created. This is my new resource group. If you click on the resource group, you can see all the resources which will be created under this resource group. So here you can see all the resources will be created. So right now we don't have any resources in the resource group. So let's start with the second one. We'll be creating our virtual network. Okay, starting from here, we'll be creating our virtual network. So again, click on all services. Okay, here you have to go into networking. Click on networking and then virtual networks. I'm clicking on virtual networks. So these are my existing virtual networks. I'll be creating. Click on create. So here you have to select the resource group, under which resource group you want to place this resource. So I'll be placing this resource group under the new one which I've created. This is my resource group name. This is the name of the virtual network. What virtual network name you want to create? So I'll be creating by this name, B04 basis P100. So that is the resource group name. This is my VNet. So this is the name of the VNet by which I want to create this virtual network. Okay, so the resource group, select the resource group, give the name for the virtual network, and then you have to give the space. See, this is the IPv4 address space, the name that we discussed in the presentation, the 10.0.0.0/16. So here instead of 10.0.0.0, I am taking 10.4.0.0. Okay, this is how I identify different subnets, different network address. So this is the IP address space that I'm taking over here. Click on next IP addresses. Here you have to give the IP address. So by default, it is taking as 10.1, the next available. It is taking the next available. I don't want this next available. I'll just click on delete and you give your own one. I'm giving 10.4.0.0/16. Okay, after that, you have to add the subnet. I'll be adding 2 subnets, not 2. Okay, we'll be adding 3 subnets over here. The public subnet, database subnet, and the application subnet. I'll be placing all my application, all the app servers inside the application. Okay, so first I'll be creating the public subnet. Click on add subnet. See, here I'll be creating my public subnet, name of the public subnet, and this is the address range, subnet address of my first subnet, that is the public subnet. Here it is. Okay, can you see the details which is showing over here? Can you see 10.4.0.0? If you see this, see this information, 10.4.0.0 up till 10.4.0.255. So this is the all the IP addresses that will be inside the subnet. You can see 251. So only 251 IP addresses is available, plus 5 Azure reserved. So it is saying as that Azure has reserved 5 IP addresses. Normally Azure has reserved 3 IP addresses. Two are reserved by default, the first one and the last one. So you only have up till 251 IP addresses available in this subnet. Okay, so here it is. So this is the, I've created this subnet public, the name of the subnet public-snet, and this is the subnet address range. Now click on add. So now here you can see I've created one public subnet. If you click on this here, you can see the details over here. Okay, now let me create the second subnet. So what will my second subnet? It is database SNet. The name of this will be database SNet. Here I'm creating another subnet, database SNet, and the name of this and the subnet range will be 10.4.1.0. 10.4.1.0/24. Okay, click on add. I've created 2 subnets. Again, I'll click add, and I'll create the third application subnet, application SNet. The IP address range will be 10.4.2.0. Okay, add. So here you can see I've created 3 public subnets for 3 subnets for this virtual network. The first one is the public subnet. This is the subnet range of it, 10.4.0.0/24, and this is the database subnet 10.4.1.0, and this is the application subnet 10.4.2.0. Okay, is it clear? Any doubt on this part? Okay, so I've created the subnet, 3 subnets. Now no need to click on this next security. We don't have any changes to be made into the security tab, which is over here, the security tab. I can directly click on review plus create. So all the changes, all the values or all the parameters that need to be set for this creating virtual network has been set. Now I'll just click on review plus create. So now it is validating. See, it is running a validation check whether the values that we have provided are optimal or accurate or not, appropriate or not. So now you can see it has said validation pass. Now I can click on create, and it will create the virtual network. It might take some time to create the virtual network. For any resources that you create, it takes some time. Now it is creating the virtual network. Okay, so here you can see it has started. Next, I go to, I think it's here you can see the notification. You can see deployment in progress. Okay, you can see deployment succeeded. Sorry. Deployment succeeded. So your virtual network has been successfully created. If you go back, now I can see my virtual network over here. This is my virtual network, B04 basis P100. This is my virtual network. If you click on it, here under the subnet heading, under the subnet, you can see all the subnets which you have created, and you can see the available IPs which are available for each subnet. Okay, so if you go in all services, I can open my I will open my resource groups. Under my resource group for my current resource group, you can see one resource has been created under my resource group by the name for my virtual network VNet. This is my resource group. A resource file under my resource group. Okay, so the virtual network has been created. We have created the infrastructure. We have created the background. We have created the infrastructure network in which we'll be placing our VMs. So now next step goes with the creating of the virtual machine. We'll start with the Bayesian host. So the first VM that we'll be creating will be our Bayesian host. So you have to go into compute virtual machines and create. So let me go into all services, compute virtual machines and create Azure virtual machine. Okay, so now what are we going to select over here? This is the resource group. In which resource group we want to place this virtual machine? So let me select from the drop down B04. This is the resource group which I'm selecting. The name of the virtual machine. What will be the name? How will you recognize this virtual machine? So by this name. So the name of this virtual machine is the same for the starting with the resource group name, and in the ending, this is the host name. This is the convention that I use. You can use anything up to your convenience. So this is the virtual machine name. Okay, you can see the tick mark. It has accepted the name of the virtual machine. Region already selected. No need to change the region. Image. What image do you want for this virtual machine? So you can select the image from the drop down list. If it is not available here, I think here it is available, but this is not a small disk image. So you can click on. You can select see all images. So here I'm clicking on see all images. Here I need to select for, okay, Windows Server is here only, so you can just click on this drop down. You can see all the images which are available. So this is for 2022. Scroll down and go for 2019. So what we need, Windows Server 2019 data center generation 2. Windows Server 2019 data center with containers generation 1. Okay, here it is. Windows Server 2019 Data Center x64 Generation 2. This is the VM that we will be selecting. So here I've selected this VM. Sometimes it just this portal gives some issues, so you can again to select it again. Windows Server small days 2022 2019. Windows Server 2019 x64 Generation 2. I don't know why it is giving an issue. Let me refresh this or come again with this. All services. Okay. Virtual machines. Create Azure virtual machine. Select the resource group B04 basis. Yes, this is the resource group and virtual machine. This is the name of my virtual machine. Availability security. This is the image. So I'm selecting for now. You can see the. So here, this is the image that I'll be needing. This is for 2016 and this is for 2019. Windows Server 2019 Data Center Gen 2. Okay. Now, after the image, you need to select the size of the VM. So we'll be selecting B2S. So here comes your size. This is the size for the VM. So there are different sizes available. You have to search for B2S. It is not here in the list. So you can click on see all sizes. Okay, from here you can see the B2S size. This is a B2S size. What it has? 2 processor, 4 GB memory, and this detail. And this will cost you 2,608 rupees for the whole month. For the whole month, this is the cost of this VM, excluding taxes, which is 18% service tax. So I'm selecting this B2S and click on select. So now you can see my size. I've selected B2S. The size is B2S. This is the size that we have selected. Okay, next you need to select the name, the username for this, how to access this VM. See, by default, whenever you install a Windows operating system, the default user which is created is the administrator user. But since everybody knows about this default administrator, the hackers and crackers also know about this. Okay, so as a security measure, You cannot create an administrative user here while creating the VM. You have to create a non-standard user. You can create, so I've selected sysadmin. You can create it by your name also. Anything that is as per your preference or whatever you need, you can create a username other than the administrator. If you select administrator, it will give an error. See what it says, username must not include reserved words. So administrator is a reserved word. You cannot create administrator user. So I'm creating sysadmin. This is the password for the sysadmin user. Okay, you can see the tick mark. It has accepted the password. Okay, so here also you can see I've given the password. This type. So here I think for this page I have done all the selection. Now click on the next this tab. Okay, here what we need to select standard HDD. So here you need to, for the OS disk type, I will select standard HDD. These are the different types of your disk types. Okay, each disk types has a different costing and different pricing. The premium SSD are the most you can say the expensive disk. Then you have something standard SSD, and the last one you have your standard HDD disk. So I'm selecting standard HDD. Since this is just for testing and lab environment, you can go with a standard HDD. In case with your for like companies we creating VMs for companies, you can go with standard SSD or premium SSD. Okay, now next you have to go on the networking tab. So now click next, networking. Okay, so now see by default it has selected the new virtual network that I have created. B04 basis P100 subnet. So you don't need to select, it is selected by default. The subnet, in which subnet you want to place this VM. So here see by default it is trying to place this VM under the application subnet. This is not we want. We want to place this Bayesian host under the public subnet. Okay, we want to open this in the public subnet. If you see the rules over here, see the select inbound ports. If you see this here, select inbound ports, we are opening RDP port 3389 for this Bayesian host. We are opening this port for this Bayesian host. So by default, this port will be open for this Bayesian host, and this you can access this Bayesian host from your internet also. Is it clear with everyone? Okay, now third option comes your public IP, whether you want to assign a public IP to your Bayesian host. So here if you see the public IP, it is assigning a new public IP B04 basis 1. This is the name of the public IP.
Muzaffar.
So, yes.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, come.
Let's go on Excel file.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Concerning the size of HANA Bayesian VM, we cannot choose B1MS.
Yes, you can choose B1MS also. This will also do, but this sometimes it gets a little slow. Okay. So normally in our last class, in the HANA class, I selected this size.
Yes.
Because in that HANA class, the number of VMs were less and the number of tools, we only use the HANA Studio for accessing the database. So that is the reason I selected this B1MS. But here in this S4HANA class, we will be also GUI application, the SAP GUI tool also to access the application servers. So this is an added tool, and also we'll be using more number of browsers for accessing different services. So the resource requirement for this is a little more. So that is the reason I'm selecting a higher resource for this VM, so that it doesn't get slow and hang up.
And image, why choose to 2020 data center?
Why not choose 2020 is the latest one. So normally you go with the industry requirement is to go N-1.
Okay.
And normally I have done all this testing in 2019. So I'm comfortable with 2019. If I choose 2022, if there is some kind of new kind of issue, maybe some tools are not working in 2022, maybe some kinds of errors, and also that is not tested by me. So that is the reason I'm not selecting 2022.
Okay.
So now coming. Okay, so we have selected the public IP. So now if you see, we have completed till here for this page networking, we have completed all the configuration. So this is the B04, this is the VNet B04, correct VNet, subnet, public subnet, and public IP. We will be assigning a public IP to this VM. If you don't want to assign a public IP, you can click none from the drop-down box. So now going next in the management. In the management, what I'm going to do, I'll be selecting enable auto shutdown. Enable auto shutdown. Where is it? Here it is. Can you see auto shutdown? Enable auto shutdown. I'm clicking on enable auto shutdown. And what I'll be giving, I'm giving the time as 12 midnight. Not 12 midnight, it is midnight. That is 12 a.m. So every day at 12 a.m., this VM will be automatically shut down. So in case if you forgot to shut down the VM, so it will not, the meter will not keep on running. So you can just stop the meter at 12 a.m. In case you have completed your work at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., but you forget to switch off the VM, power down the VM, after 3 hours, 4 hours at midnight, it will automatically switch it off. So this is just as a precaution in case if I forgot to switch off the VM. But in your official environment, will not be setting up this setting, because if it's a critical VM, then you don't want it to get automatically shut down. Okay, so this is only for a lab environment that I'm putting this setting. So I'm enabling auto shutdown and I'm putting the shutdown as 12 a.m. midnight. So I'm giving the time as 12 a.m. midnight. Time zone, in which time zone? So I'll be selecting the time zone of my geographical location, which is this one: Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, New Delhi. So this is here it is. You don't want a notification before shutdown. So this is my setting. Okay, enable auto shutdown, shutdown time, time zone, and enable notification before shutdown. This is done till now. The last thing is that I need to set up a DNS name label, how to access this VM. So I'll be setting up a DNS name label. Just click on next. I think it is not here. I'll just click on review plus create. This setting is not here. You have to do it after the VM is created. So now just click on review plus create. It will validate the setting. It will validate whether the settings, whatever parameters you have provided are correct or not. So here it is. See, it is running the final validation. So you can see validation passed. My validation has passed. The VM, the settings or the values that I've chosen are correct. You can see this is the costing. This is a costing of my VM. How much it is? 3.5734 rupees per hour. This is the costing of this VM. Okay. And here you can see the details. You can see the details of this VM, where you have the subscription and the resource group, virtual machine name, region, availability, security, all the details that you've chosen. In the data disk, I have selected standard HDD networking. This is a VNet in which the VM will be placed, and which subnet you want to place the VM, then public IP address, all the details over here. Okay, now I can click on create. Once you click on create, it will start creating the virtual machine. It will start here. You can see in the progress over here, it is initializing deployment. It will start now submitting deployment, and it will start creating. It will start deployment. Okay, so here you can see it has deployment is in progress. Here you can see whatever resources it will be creating for this VM.
Are all these resources under the resource group once created are constant and we can't change it, right? Or any resources we can change it? Suppose auto shutdown, auto shutdown resource, and that that we can change it later also, right? Once it is
yes, you can change it later. Only thing that you cannot change is the name of the resource group and the name of the resource. You cannot change the name of the resource, but other settings inside the you change it anytime after your after creating the VM also. Some settings, some changes you can do online also. For some changes, you have to shut down the VM and then only you can change the setting. That is it. So here you can see these are the VMC. The first thing that it created is created a resource for the virtual IP address. Public IP address. Then it created a network security group. Then this is it created a interface network address. It created a network adapter. You can see from your network interface, it created a network interface. This is a network security group. This is a public IP address. And the last thing which is it created is the virtual machine. So now you can see it has created a virtual machine, and now you can see the deployment succeeded. It has created your virtual machine is created now. Now you can go back into all services, virtual machines. Okay, now you can see a virtual machine here. It is still in the creating state. So it will take some time for creating. Okay, so this is still in the creating state. You can refresh from here to monitor. So now you can see it has changed to the running state. It means the VM has been created and now it is in the running state. Okay, so now the VM has been. Now I can go and continue with the other configuration that we need to do. So for example, setting the DNS name label. So now I am going to create the DNS name label. So click on this version host. Okay, here you can see DNS name. Can you see over here? This is a DNS name setting. So here I need to set the DNS name label. This is the name label that I want to select. So click on the not configured DNS name label. Here I am setting the DNS name label and just click on save. Okay, the reason I'm creating a DNS name label is that how will you access the VM? If you don't create a DNS name label, then every time you shut down the VM and you start the VM, the IP address is set as dynamic. This IP address will change. Every time you shut down the VM and after you start the VM, your IP address will change because it is set to dynamic. Otherwise, you'll have to set it to static. But if you set it to static, then the meter will continue running even after you shut down the VM, because you have set up a static IP address. That IP address is blocked by your VM. So if it is dynamic, so whenever you shut down the VM, the meter will stop. Whenever you start it again, it will assign a new IP address and it will the meter will start from there. So every time you don't have to look for the change IP address. If you have a static DNS label, you can every time the IP address is changed, the DNS label, the DNS record will be updated. So you don't need to change it every time. So here I'm setting the DNS label and I'm clicking on save.
So Muzaffar, you mean if it is dynamic, the per hour cost will be reduced, and when it is VM is down.
Yes,
right?
by the time your VM is running, the meter will be running. It will be added. It will incur cost for you. But when you shut down the VM, the IP address will be released. Okay. For example,
if I keep static, and the setting auto shutdown and VM is shut down. Even though VM is shut down, if you keep static, then it will be billed, right?
Yes, see, you see static IP address means, for example, this IP address 20.228.144.74. It means you have blocked this IP address. So once it is blocked for you, then you have to pay for it till the time if you don't release it. Because
even the VM is down.
The VM is down. The VM is down. But see, the cloud provider cannot give this IP address to someone else, na?
Okay.
If, for example, you shut down the VM for 2 hours. Okay, and in that 2 hours, if this IP address is assigned to some other VM inside, some other customer, someone else, then when you next time you start the VM, you won't get the same IP address. Okay, so now I have saved it. Now I can go back. So here you can see the new DNS label. This is your DNS name. This is the actual name of your DNS. So this is the name plus the host, the domain name of your cloud service provider. So this is the full name which I have saved over here. This is the name by which you can access this VM. So here I can save this name over here. I can access this VM by this name. Now I'll just add it over here. Add a server. I will give this name, the server name. So display name will also be the same. No need to change the display name. Going to login credentials. Here I will give the credentials. The sysadmin credential and the password will be here. And I'm saving, I'm adding it. So here you can see this is my, let me just instead of this let me give the name of my tag. So this is the display name. Okay, instead of this big name, this will be a display name. So here, this is the VM. So let me double click on it. Let me see if it gets connected or not. So here you can see it has connected. I am able to connect to my VM. Don't ask me again this. So this is my Bayesian host. Now from now onwards, whatever configuration, whatever changes, whatever, if I need to access my SAP VMs, SAP application, HANA database, I will do it from here within this Bayesian host. Yes, sir. Is it clear with everyone? Okay, so we have created the Bayesian host. Now I'm able to access my Bayesian host. Now there are some changes that I need to do on my Bayesian host. What I need to do, change the host name. In case if you want, because by default it has set up a, okay, here in this settings, networks, click on yes. For this server manager, you can just click on this. Don't show this message again. Close this. Manage server manager properties. Do not start server manager automatically log on. Okay, and just close it. Okay, so here it is done till now. Now, if you want to change the host name, because the host name which is taken, it's a rename this PC. So see, this is the host name that is taken, B04 minus basis P1. In case if you want to change it, you can just click on. You can give the new name over here. You can change this name and you can click on next. Restart later. Right? So I've changed the host name. If you want to change the time zone, you can change the time zone. Okay, so here you can change the time zone. By default, it is UTC. I can scroll down here, Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai region. So if you see the time right by now, currently it is showing us 2:33. If you click on OK, it will be set to our local time zone, that 8:83. Okay, so time is done. Now we have to download the softwares and packages that will be needing to access the VMs. Okay, so first thing that you need to download is you need to download the AZ copy utility. You have to download this AZ copy utility. This is the utility by which I can download the software which I've already uploaded in my file share. Inside my Azure account, I have created a file share. Inside that file share, I have uploaded all the software which is required during the course or during the access out during the for accessing the VMs and the different tools, everything. So for downloading this is the link for downloading the software. So for downloading these tools and utilities, you need this AZ copy. So first thing is that you need to download this AZ copy. This is the link for downloading the AZ copy. If you open this link over here, so here you can see these are the different AZ copies over here. So what we need over here is the Windows 64-bit AZ copy. You click on this, download the software. Okay, after downloading, you can upload it into your VM, or you can directly download in the VM also. But in the directly, you need to download through Internet Explorer, and it's a very hectic task downloading in the Internet Explorer. So I will just copy it from my local PC. So here in my D drive, I have utilities. I have this AZ copy. This is AZ copy utility. So there are two AZ copy. This is for Windows and this is for Linux. So I'll be copying the Windows AZ copy into inside my VM. So inside the VM, inside C drive, there is a directory by default folder called as packages. C drive packages. So there is a by default folder by this name. Inside this, I will be copying the AZ copy utility.
Hello.
Yes.
Why we are copying this Azure copy? What
Yes.
is
So yes, let me show you. Okay, this is my portal. This is my account. Inside my account, if I go into all services, so there's an option over here for storage accounts. So you can create a storage account. Under the storage account, I have these different storage accounts. In my SAP training storage account, I have created different file shares. I have created different file shares and I uploaded the different softwares needed for this training under different file shares. For example, if you go into HANA file share, here you can file the software that is required for installing HANA database. So these are the HANA packages. This is for HANA database. This is for S4HANA cockpit. No, this is for the cockpit. This is for HANA Studio. So I have copied all this software over here, and also for my Bayesian host, also for the Bayesian host I've created. These are all the tools and utilities which are required for accessing your VMs and different things. So I've already created a file share and I uploaded all the software. Now to download the software into your Bayesian host, you need the easy copy utility.
thanks.
Okay, so here I can see I have uploaded the easy copy or in my VM. In my VM, I uploaded the easy copy utility. Now let me, this is the command to download all the files and directories which are under Bayesian. This is the file share. So under Bayesian, whatever it is there, it will download, and it will download in which location? It will download into your C drive packages location. Okay, recursive means if there is any directory inside it, it will also download a directory also. So here it is how, and this is the URL that you need to download the software. So I will copy this URL. Let me put it into here. I can use you can paste this URL in any command in the command prompt. So now it is going into this URL. It will show you the content of the URL. It will try to download all the packages inside this location. So you can see it has started downloading. It has started downloading. How many files are there? It is these are the pending files. Total there are 2061 files. Okay, it takes hardly 2 or 3 minutes for downloading all the options. So these are the packages that I uploaded in my file share. So you can see SAP car utility, Xming utility, Putty, PSCP, MT Putty, AZ copy, and AZ copy for Linux. This is AZ copy for Linux. Then Firefox browser, AnyDesk, Adobe Reader, SAP GUI. This is SAP GUI utility. Okay, so it has completed. See, it has downloaded all the packages over here. So you can see it has downloaded all the packages inside C drive packages folder. So all the content is over here. So this is done. So our Bayesian host is ready. Our Bayesian host is ready. In case now how to access the VM. So this is how we'll access the VM. This is the Putty utility. From the Putty utility, you can directly access your VM. So before that, you need to make some minor changes. Appearance, let me just increase the font. So in case of 10, I will increase the font size to 12. The font will be console as, okay, the size will be 12. Okay, here it is 12, and then you need to just change the SSH X11, enable X11 forwarding. These are the two changes. Now I need to go into session and save it in the default settings. Save. I have saved in the default settings. This is done. Now this is the utility empty putty which we'll be using for accessing the VM. So I'm going to send it to the desktop, create shortcut. Here it is. I will be creating the empty putty utility. Here it is. You can open this putty. Okay, this is a utility. There are some minor configuration. Hide this page and this view, toolbar, tools, settings. Okay. Now this is done. Now this empty putty is ready. Now I can create a different VMs and access the VMs from my putty over here. Here it is. Now let me go and again let me, now this patient VM creation is done. Now let me go ahead and create my HANA DB VM and my application server VM. Okay, so let us now go quickly create the HANA DB VM. Okay, so now here I'm going into go back. Okay. Create Azure Virtual Machine. Resource group B04. The name of the this is the name of the VM HANA DB1. Now this is SUSE Enterprise Linux. So here I'll be selecting SUSE Enter Gen 2, SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP. Just make sure that you select for SAP. SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP 15 SP3 BYOS Gen 2. In case if you don't find this image in the list, you have to click on See All Images. Click on See All Images and then you can type it over here. You can type the name of this VM. Click on Enter. So you can see the image over here. Can you see over here? This is the image. SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 15 for SAP BYOS. You can select the Gen 2 from the drop down list. Gen 1 and Gen 2, Generation 1 and Generation 2. Okay. So now back. Create Azure Virtual Machine. Resource group B04. Name of the VM. Oh, sorry. This is the name of the VM. Okay, and then the image will be 15 SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP 15 SP3 BYOS Gen 2. Okay, this is the image. This is the size E16S V3. Okay, this is the size over here. You have this E16S V3. Okay, so we'll be needing the 128 GB VM for installing the HANA database. Okay, you have to create this VM. You cannot use this VM because if you use this VM, you will only be able to install the application server. But after creating the, if you try to access the application server, it will start giving you dumps because the memory for this HANA VM is very less. So we'll be selecting E16S V3. So from the size, let me select E16S V3. It is not here in the list. Let me click on See All Sizes. E16S. So you have to go into the E series V3, E16S V3. Here it is. Can you see E16S V3? Select this. Okay, the price for this is 50,000, 5313. Same. Okay, so I've selected the size for my VM. Now you need to account. You have to create an account. So it will be password based. You will access the VM through password, username, password. The name of the user will be sysadmin. Okay, done. And the password will be the same that we selected for our Windows Bastion host. Okay. After this, you have to select, would you like to use an existing SUSE subscription? Just check this box. Again, check this box. I confirm and this. Okay, disk type. Just click on next disk. Now here you need to select standard HDD. Here I am selecting standard HDD. Now you need to add 3 more disks. Now the by default the disk for the OS disk is for a 30 GB disk. Other than the OS disk, you need additional disk for installing the database and everything. So here I'll be creating create and attach a new disk. I'm clicking create and attach a new disk. So I'll be adding 128 GB. So here click on change size, select 128 GB and it will be standard HDD. So here I'll be selecting standard HDD. 128 GB standard HDD. Okay. Okay, here it is. Now just click on OK. Again, click on create and attach a new disk. Change size. Standard HDD 128 GB. Okay. Okay. Again, click on create and attach a new disk. Change size. Standard HDD 128. Okay. Okay. So if you see over here, I have added 3 disks here to my VM. I have created 3 disks to my VM. This is my disk 1. This is a data disk 0, data disk 1, and data disk 2. 3 disks to the VM, each of 128 GB. And the disk type is standard. The reason I have selected 3 different disks is that we will be creating the file systems through uh, uh, Linux LVM. We will be creating the file systems under Linux LVM. Okay, and we have created 3 different disks that so that the IOs will be distributed into the into the different disks. The IOs will be splitted. The IOs will be distributed. So if the IO is splitted, then the speed will be fast. So instead of writing a 1 GB file into one disk, which will take, so example, it might take 15 minutes. If I write a 1 GB file in one disk, it will take 15 minutes. So I will write the same file onto 3 disks. So it will be divided into the 3 parts. So each part it will be written in it will take only 5 minutes to write that the file on the 3 disks. Is it clear? Can we move forward? Okay, so here is a networking. Now, in which networking? Click on next networking. Okay, so you can see it has taken this network B04 network, so no need to change anything for this. The subnet, see again it is taking the application subnet. Click and change it to database subnet. I'm placing this will be a database VM. I am creating a database VM, so it will place under the database subnet. Public IP, no, I don't need any public IP for my HANA VM. None. Okay, then again for the management, click on the next management. Enable auto shutdown. Enable auto shutdown. Again, the same time I need to shut it down at 12 p.m. at 12 a.m. Okay, and the timing, this is the time zone, India time zone, and notification before shutdown. And just click on review plus create. Okay, so now you can see it has this is validation has passed. It is given the costing for my VM. It will cost me 72 rupees 62 paisa for 1 hour. This is the costing of this VM, 72 rupees and 62 paisa for 1 hour. And these are the different configuration. If you want, you can review it. You can check if everything is proper or not, everything is correct or not. Okay, if everything is okay, you can just click on create. So now it has started with the creation of your VM. Now it has started with the creation of the VM. Okay, so it will create the HANA VM. Simultaneously, what we can do, we can also start creating the VM for our virtual machine. Sorry, the VM for our application server. So here we can just, by the time it is getting created, I think it's created or no, it is in deployment in progress. So I can click on back. Okay, so it is not here till now because I think it is still under creation. Let me just go and create the application server VM. Create Azure virtual machine, resource group B04. B04, the name of the VM. This is the name. This is the name of this VM. S4HANA 1. Region, standard image, the same image that we choose for the HANA VM. No need to change this. SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP 15 SP3. Size, what is the size that we need? We'll select the size E2S V3. Two processors, 16 GB memory. In case if you want more resources, more compute, you can go for higher resources also. You can go for 4 CPU 16 GB or 4 CPU 16 GB. Okay, this is it. So I'm selecting E2S V3. Click on the drop down. No, it is not here. Let's click on see all sizes. Okay, I cannot see it over here. You have to go into E series V3. E series V3, E2S V3. This is a VM. 2 CPU, 16 GB memory. Click on select. Here it is selected. I've selected the size. Now again, the authentication will be password based. Yes.
I have one doubt. You are open it. You are giving instant details as that B04. Is that unique or we can use different one?
You can use
B4
anyone. You can use as per your convenience, as per your preference, whatever you can give your name of the virtual machine. You can give it something like S4HANA also. You can give something like application server. It is up to you. Okay. The reason I'm selecting this name is that because see, I have different courses, different batches going on at a time. If you leave over here, if you go into all services, virtual machine. Okay, so these are the different batches which I run at a time. So right now there's only this one. So I have to identify from there which VM is for which batch. So that is the reason I'm giving some unique names and to identify the VM. Okay, so here I'm giving the username, password. Now this one, would you like check next disk? In the disk, I have to select standard HDD for my operating system disk, standard HDD. Again, I need to create 3 disks of 32 GB each. I need to create 3 disks of 32 GB each. Create and attach a new disk, change size, standard HDD, 32 GB, okay, okay. And then again, click create a new disk, change size, standard HDD, 32 GB, okay, okay. Again, click on create and attach a new disk, change size, standard HDD, 32 GB, okay, okay. So you can see I have added 3 disks to my VM. I have added 3 different disks to my VM of 32 GB. This is for my application server. Last time that we added 128 GB, that was for the database server. This is for my application server. Okay, I created 3 disks. Again, go in the networking tab, click next, networking. Under networking, virtual network, this is a network in which it will be placing this VM under a subnet. See, right now it is taking default application subnet, so no need to change it because this is the application server and we want to place it in the application SNet. Public IP, again, just go and deselect the public IP. We don't want any public IP for the application server. None. Then go in the management, next management. Okay, enable auto shutdown. You have to give the time for the auto shutdown. Okay, select the time zone. Okay, and then unselect notification before shutdown, and everything is done. Now just click on review plus create. It will do the validation. Okay, this is the validation. This is a costing 9 rupees and around 7 paise for this VM per hour. And these are the parameters. You can review it and then you can click on create. Okay, so it will start creating the VM. If you see on the progress, so the earlier VM is already created. My HANA VM is already created. If you want to, and it is starting with the creation of my application server VM. And let me go back. Cancel, no, not yet. Okay, let me now click back. Okay, so here you can see the HANADB VM is created, is already running. The VM is running, HANADB VM. And I have started with the application server VM. It will take some time, maybe 4 or 5 minutes to create the VM. So now let me see how I can access my HANADB VM. Okay, this part is done. This Excel sheet is completed now. We are done with the lab setup. I've set up my lab for my installation of the S4HANA. Now, how to access the VM? We'll go into our Bayesian host. Over here, you can click on server, add server, and this will be the IP address of the server. So, what is the IP address? Here you can see this is my HANADB. If you come over here I can see the IP address of my server. So, normally what happens? It has Azure. Azure has given it's a dynamic IP address. It has given an IP address to a VM, and it always gives in a sequential order. Okay, the first available IP is in the subnet 10.4.1 subnet. The first available IP is 4, so it will start from 4. If you create a next VM, it will give it 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the difference with AWS. AWS doesn't assign the IP addresses in a sequential order, but it assigns in a random order. Okay, so this is my IP address for my Azure VM. Let me copy it and put it over here. This is IP address. No need to put the port. What is for it? Here I can give something like HANA DB. So this is the IP address for my HANA DB. Okay, this is the connection for my. I will just click on OK. So this is the connection created over here. The name of the system and the IP address. Double click on it, and you can see it is asking for my username and password. What username and password I will give you? The username and password which were given at the time of creating of the VM. So here is my setup for my H4D. This is the setup for my SAP HANA 2.0. This is the setup of my VM. Okay, so here if you go in the OS here, this is the IP, this is the host name, and this is the password. So if you see, I am able to access my VM. I have logged in into my VM, my HANA DB VM. Is it clear with everyone?
Yes.
Similarly, when my other VM also, see, it is also up. It is also up now. The S4HANA VM is also running now. This is the IP address of my S4HANA VM. It is also starting at 4. The reason is that because my database is in a different subnet and the application is in a different subnet. So now let me access my application VM also server, add server, IP address. Here it will be my S4.
Muzaffar, so HANA DB VM IP and primary application server VM IP, these are also dynamic?
Yes, these are ICC. At the time of creating the VM, we didn't define which IP to create. We didn't.
Yes, right.
Yes.
By default, it will be dynamic only unless we
Yes,
select it.
the Azure assigns it by default. If you want, you can change the IP address after creating the VM.
Yeah,
okay, you can change the IP address after creating the VM. So here it is. So this is my HANA DB and this is my S4HANA. So here this is the VM for my S4HANA. It will use the same user ID password, the same user ID, and this is the same password. So you can see now I'm able to access my, this is my S4HANA VM. This is my S4HANA VM and this is my HANA DB VM. Yes, is it clear with everyone? Any doubts, any queries till now? No doubts, no queries. Okay, so now we'll take a break of 10-15 minutes. I think 15 minutes will be good. We'll take a break now and we will again reconnect at 8:45. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Because continuing, I think everything will go above your head. Because so let us take a break and refresh ourselves. Okay. Yeah. So meet you at 8:45.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Can we start now?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for the delay. Okay. So now our VMs are created. We are able to start with the setup of our VM for installing the database and application. Okay, so this is my Excel sheet. Here is the Excel sheet which covers all these different sheets over here. This is the information sheet of the VM. It contains about the information about the configuration size of the VM, the file system that need to be created. Okay, and then you have this product availability matrix, software packages that is required for installing HANA database. Then you have this general information, the domain name, the root user password, the master password, IP address, host name, IP address, and everything over here. Okay, these are the different information over here. This is for the operating system setup. What you need to do to set up your operating system. Okay, then you have your installation. This is the HANA database installation sheet. Then these are a different sheet over here. Okay, this sheet is actually from the HANA database batch. This is not from this S4HANA. This from this sheet will only be covering up to installation. Okay, so now this is everything over here. This is actually for the HANA database. Let it change it to S4HANA. So here it is. This is the sizing for S4HANA. Operating system disk 30 GB, data disk / HANA data, log, shared, backup. Okay. IP address. I need to change the host name and the IP address. HANA DB1. Okay, and the IP address will be 10. The IP address for the HANA database 10.4.1.4. So it will be 10.4.1.4. Other things will be the same. Yes, this will also change. Instead of 59, we'll be installing 61. So we can go 59 also. Okay, so now let us start with the operating system setup. So now we'll be setting up the operating system. First thing, log in with the user, switch to the root user. With this account, you can switch to the root user. Okay, I've changed to the root user. Now change the password of the root user. Here I'm changing the password of the root user to root123. I've changed the password of the root user. After that, preserve. I have to change the parameter preserve underscore hostname to true. This parameter is there inside the file etc cloud.cfg. So inside this parameter, if you check the current parameter, it is false. By default, it is false. For example, for preserve the host name. If it is false, sometimes the cloud provider may change the host name, may change your host name to the earlier one which was set by default. So to disable this changing of the host name, you need to set this parameter to true. So here I am changing the parameter. Now if you see, after changing the parameter, it has now changed to true. The preserve host name is now changed to true. So this is done. Now set the host name. Here I am changing the host name of my system. Hostname CTL. This is the set hostname. Here I am setting the hostname inside the etc hostname file. Okay, so now you can see inside the etc hostname file, I have changed my hostname. Okay, then comes your log off and login with root. Okay, log off and login with root. So here I'm like logging off, again log it off, and let me change it directly here itself. So no need to every time give the password. Here I'm giving the host name and username and the password. Okay, so now if you double click on it, it will directly log me into my HANA VM without asking for any username and password. So this is also done. Now next step is to add entry in the etc host file. You have to add the entry in the etc file. This is, you can run this command, it will add the entry in the etc host file, and this you can check if this is properly done or not. So here I can see that this entry has been added in the etc host file. Ping C4. Let me check if I am able to ping. So yes, I can ping my host name. Okay. Now again, this is for entering into the etc host of your Bayesian host. This is for the Bayesian host. So if you open a command prompt for the Bayesian host, if I click it over here, see this is there is no entry for my Bayesian host. So here I'm putting an entry in my Bayesian host so that I can access it via host name from my Bayesian host also. So here it is. Can you see it has made this entry over here? Here check it, ping it from the Bayesian host. So I can ping it from my Bayesian host also. So this is done. So this is done from here till here. Now configure the DNS. So you have to configure the DNS settings. Take a backup of the DNS file, etc sysconfig network config, and make the changes with the SED command. Okay, done the changes. You can check the changes. So now you can check the changes. It is add this information in your file. Solutrix.in. Now change file. If I check it, okay, so it has come here also. It has been added in my etcresolve.conf. Now set the host name. By default, the host name is set to UTC. By default, the host name is set to UTC. So change it to your local geographical time zone. Okay, so now you can see it has been set to my local geographical location. Okay, this is for setting up the NTP service. In case if you are doing the configuration on an on-premise VM or server, physical server, you need to configure the NTP service because the time difference between the database VM and the application server should not be more than like 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, it has to be same. The time has to be same on the database VM as well as the application server VM. Okay, so that is the reason. But in clouds, in the cloud environment, it is already done. The time is synced by the cloud provider. So no need to set up NTP in a cloud environment. But in case of your on-premise systems, physical or VM, you need to set up your NTP. Tune system for HANA. For installing the HANA database, we need to tune the system. Okay, so how you can see, let me first start this service. Okay, so the service has been started, enabled, active. Now let me, if you check the service now, it is showing me what solutions are available for my system. These are the different solutions, and these are the corresponding SAP nodes for this solution. Okay, so now I'll be setting up the solution as S4HANA DB server. Okay, so here I am just click on this 3. Simulate. First it will simulate, then it will set, and then it will first it will simulate, then it will apply, and then it will verify. Now in the last, you can again run this option, and you can see this solution has been applied to your system. Okay, so we have tuned the system. We have done all the parameter. We have set the parameter required for your installing your HANA database. So this is done in this part. Now you have to configure a swap file system. Okay, so HANA database, since it's an in-memory database, you don't need a high amount of swap memory, but still you need a minimum, that is 2 GB of a swap file system. 2 GB. Right now, if you check this over here, swap on minus free minus m. If you check this space, see there is no swap memory enabled right now. It is 0. So there is no swap memory currently. So we'll be setting a swap memory for 2 GB. So in this cloud, in Azure, not in cloud, in Azure, they provide a setting over here in this file where you can set up the swap services. You can configure your swap file system directly in your this WA agent configuration file. So this is a configuration file. Just copy paste it over here. Okay, so here you can see the earlier parameter, this format no, we have changed it to Y. Mount point, this is the earlier mount point, MNT resource, we have changed it to MNT. Yes.
Actually, I have a doubt. How did you configure that is S4HANA? We need to pay money, right? To configure that.
Come again. What you said?
Go back to that ship.
Yes. Yeah.
Earlier step, SAP Tune services.
Yes. Okay.
How did you configure that? We need to pay money, right? And
no, we don't need to pay any money. If you see over here, while creating the VM, I selected this image. If you remember, while creating the VM, if you click on this HANA DB VM, see, this is the image that we selected. The image. Let me show you from here. See, while we created, we selected this image. SUSE Enterprise Linux for SAP 15 SP3. We selected this image. So when you select this image, the SAP Tune service is by default installed with this image.
Okay.
Okay, you don't need, if you don't select the for SAP, if you don't select this for SAP image, this SAP Tune service will not be installed by default, and then you have to install it. And for installing it, and then if you go for the user repository, it will not allow you to install the package without getting a subscription.
Okay.
Okay, that is it. Okay, so here it is. We have. Okay, so here it is, we have done this. So this is enable swap or no. Here we have changed the enable swap to yes, and the previous size of the swap memory was 0. We have changed it to 2 GB, 2048 MB. 2048 MB is equal to 2 GB. So we have set this here, it is done. Now, if you still see it is not effective yet. It will not be effective yet. If you see free -m, it is still not effective. So to bring into effect, you have to restart the WA agent service. You have to restart the WA agent service. Now, if you check the free -m, now you can see that the memory swap memory has been increased to 2 GB. Okay, if you check this option swap -v free -m, now you can see the swap file. This is where it has created the swap file. It has created a swap file of 2 GB in this location /mnt/swap file, and the size is of 2 GB. Yes, is it clear? Any doubt? So we have created a swap size. Now the last remaining part is to configure the file system, create mount points. Okay, so now we'll be creating the mount points under Linux LVM. Okay, now let me run this ls block command. Now you see, this is the 3 disks that we added at the time of creating the VM. Okay, this is the 128 GB 3 disk of 128 GB, SDC, SDD, SDE. These are the 3 disks. So from ls block, we are checking whether the disks are visible on the OS or not. So yes, my disk is visible. Okay, so it is visible. Yes, it is visible on the VM. It is available on the VM. Now let me check for the configuration of my LVM. So if you check the configuration for the LVM, see, by default, there is no configuration right now for the LVM. The LVM is not configured currently. Okay, LVM is not configured. Now I'm creating the LVM. So first thing that you need to do is you need to create a physical volume on all the 3 disks that I have added. Okay, you need to create a physical volume, PV create. Okay, you can see physical volume successfully created. Now, if you run the PVS command, you can see the 3 physical volumes in your system always. Next is your VG create. Now I'm creating a VG. Now, if you run VG create, it says volume group HANA successfully created. Now, if you run the VGS command, you can see the volume over here. HANA, you can see the volume group over here. Now, next is you're creating your logical volume. So I'm creating 4 logical volumes. The first one is for data, second for log, third is for shared, and the fourth one is for backup. Okay, actually I need to update my sheet over here. Here I have not included the slash backup mount point. Here in this system, you see over here, I have not included a slash backup mount point. So now I'm including it over here. So you need a mount point for slash backup. Okay. So what we are doing, we are creating a this is for 120. Okay, this is for 125, 50. Let's make it 120, 50. Shared will be 20 GB and the backup size will be 190 GB. This is a 380 GB of this space. Because I updated my sheet. Okay, so backup partition. So yeah, these are the 4 volumes that 4 logical volume that will be created. So I'm copying all these options. If you see over here -I, it means distribute this logical volume on 3 different disks. Distribute on 3 disks, and minus capital I to VT6 is the this block size. What how much block of data will be written to each disk. Here I'm creating the logical volume, so you can see all the logical volumes have been created. Now if you run the LBS command, if you run this LBS command, you can see all the LBS logical volumes over here. These are 4 logical volumes. Okay, now after creating the logical volumes, you need to format, you need to create a file system on the logical volumes. You need to format the logical volume. So here I'm doing it with mkfs command. One data, this is the data, then the log volume, then the shared, and last is the backup volume. So I have created a file system on all the 4 logical volumes. Now you need to make an entry in the etc fstep file. Right now, if you see the content of the etc fstep file, this is the content of the etc fstep file. Now I'm making an entry of all of them in the etc fstep file. So now if you see the content cat etc fstep, see it has added this 4 partitions. It has added these 4 entries in the etc fstep file. So this is, we have made this entry. So next time when you reboot the system, this mount points will be automatically mounted at boot time. Okay, this is for the after reboot, but right now they are not mounted. If you check on df-h, these file systems are not mounted right now. So how to mount these file systems and now without rebooting, you can do it with this. Okay, first you need to create the mount points. These are the directives that you need to create on which it will be mounted. So here I'm creating the directories, mkdir. Then I'm running mount -av. So this command will mount all the file systems from your etc fstep file. You can see successfully mounted. For these 4 new partitions, it has successfully mounted. For this 4 new mount point, it has successfully mounted. Okay, just Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was some network disconnection, maybe I think the internet outage. Okay, so now where were we last? Okay, we have mounted all the file system. Now, if you run this, if you check this output, you will see all the file system. All these LVM file systems are mounted as well. These are the 4 new file systems. Mount ones. So with this, we have completed the OS setup, OS configuration, or the OS setup part. Is this clear with everyone? Any doubts, any queries up till now? Yes, can we go ahead now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we have configured the operating system. OS configuration is done. The next part is to install our HANA database. The next part will be installation of our HANA database. So before installation the HANA database, again, I need to download, copy the AZ copy utility inside your HANA VM. Last time what we did, we copied the AZ copy utility on our Windows Bashan host to download all the packages on a Bashan host. But now we'll be copying the Linux AZ copy utility in your HANA VM, and inside the HANA VM, we'll be downloading the HANA database packages. So these are the 2 utility that will one. This is a first one is a AZ copy utility for downloading the packages, and then the SAP car utility for extracting the package. So this AZ copy utility you have to copy under /usr bin, and the other SAP car you have to copy under /pkgs. So let me copy the AZ copy utility. So here I am. You have to copy it from your Bashan host inside into your HANA VM. So here I'm running this command. Yes, root password. I have to give the root password. So it has copied. It has started, done copying. Let me copy. Let me paste this one also. Okay, so SEPCAR, both the utility has been copied. Both the utility has been copied inside the VM. If you want, you can check it ls/pkgs. So here is my SAP car utility, then ls/usr bin, and then AZ copy. AZ copy. AZ copy. So here is my both the utility has been copied inside my HANA VM. Now, next thing is that you need to make it executable. You have to make the utilities executable, both of them, AZ copy and SAP car. So with this command, I'm making them executable. If you check for /packages, you can see it has become executable. Okay. Now download this package. I need to download the package from here. I need to download the package from my file share. So I'm downloading it. So just run it from here. You can see it has started downloading the packages. 35%. Okay, so it is almost 100% done. Okay, now let me. It is we have downloaded the package. If you want to check ls/pkgs, see this is my package for my HANA database. This is the package for my HANA database. Now next things, go inside the package and extract the package. Before the package, let me go inside the packages location. If you want to test it, you can, before extraction, if you want to test it, you can test with this command -tf command. So here you have tested the package, everything okay, then you can go with extraction. Now you can extract the package. Okay. it is getting extracted. It will extract by this name SAP _ HANA _ database. So I'm renaming this directory name into a more relatable name with the version and everything. So next time if I want to, I cannot, if I don't rename it, next time you might get confused. SAP HANA database, what version was it for this package? So it is extracted. If you click on ls, it has extracted with this name SAP _ HANA database. So I am renaming it to my by this name. So now this is the directory as extracted package, and this is the archive. Now installation, at the time of installation, you can install it using the HDFM utility. You can install it and give the options one by one. If I run this command, it will ask me for all the options. Do you want to specify additional component location? No. Then again, it will ask you all the details. So instead of giving one by one, what I can do is that I can directly install using this one command. In this one command, I have provided all the arguments. I have provided all the values. Components is equal to server. Action is equal to install. SID is equal to H4D. Number is equal to 3. System usage is equal to development. SAP ADM, this password, this system user, everything. I have provided all the details over here. I just need to click on install. Sorry, I just need to paste it here. See, I paste it here. It will start with the installation. You can see my HANA database installation has started. It will take approximately 10 minutes for the installation. So by the time it is getting installed, if you have any doubts and queries, we can use this time, utilize this time for addressing those. Yes, anyone? Okay, so our database installation is completed successfully. Okay, you can check it from here. You have to log in with your SID ADM user. Let me log in with my SID ADM user. After that, you can run an installation check. Okay, you can run installation check before that. Okay, here you can run an installation check with this command. Here it is running an installation check. You can see SAP HANA database check parameters execution. This SAP checking SAP HANA database system installation, HANA database S4D programs and all this. HANA database system check, and it is giving the output. It has given the output in this file. You can use the less command to check the content of this file. You can, if you want, you can read all the content of this file from top to the bottom, but it is very lengthy file. If you want, you can, or you can, what you can do, you can use this command, and let me paste it over here, and then I can use this egrep command to check for any error, fail or warning messages inside this file. So I'm running this egrep command, so you can see it has only find 2 lines with the error, with the ERR into it. So this is just a part of this command, and if you see in the last here over here, it says no errors detected. It means our installation was successful, or there is no error in the installation. Okay, this is we're done. This is for checking the HANA status. If you want to check whether your database is running properly or not, you can run this command. You can see all this. These are your processes. These are your daemons or services, and this is the description. This is the status, running status, when it started, everything. Okay, this is, you can also use the HDP info command. This will show you, but I think this one is a more simple output. It has a more simple output and easy to understand. Okay, then you have the start system. In case if you want to stop your database, you can use the stop command. After this, you can use the start command to start your database, and also you can use the restart command to restart your database. Okay, let me show you how you can stop your database. I'm running this stop command. It has started stopping the database. If you now run the watch command, it will, you can monitor the output. Okay, so now you can see my database has been stopped. My database has been stopped. I can now use the start command. You can now use the start command to start your database. I can use my start command, and again you can do, you run the watch command to check, monitor the status of your database, whether it is coming up, how much time it is taking. So you can see most of these have come up. It is now starting a dispatcher. Okay, so now you can see my database has started successfully. Yes, everyone. Any doubts, queries? I think we have achieved the today's objective. We had set up that we will set up the lab and we will install the HANA database, and we have done it. So our HANA database is ready. Yes, everyone. Any doubts, any queries? I think for today's session is completed. If you have any doubts and queries, you can ask it now.
Can we get this document, Mio?
Sorry, but actually this is prepared for my batches and classes. Only after you enroll for it, then only will get the documents. You will get the recording for this session. I will share the meeting recording in the groups, all the groups in which I had shared the invitation.
Okay, thank you.
So I think nobody has any query, anything. So I think we can wind up today's session. So here I'm shutting down the VM that I've created. Stop it. Okay, so if nobody has any queries, so it's okay. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. How to generate? Let me stop the recording.